ever told yourself, I just need alone time to heal, this episode is for you. Because here's the truth. Healing doesn't actually happen in isolation. Healing happens in connection. Last year, in 2025, I can believe it's January 2026. Last year, I went through something very personal, not related with my divorce, but a different kind of storm. I was dealing with hormonal changes, confusion. I was not focused. I couldn't sleep. And without realizing it, I started to isolate myself. And this wasn't the first time because it has happened to me before, like in the past. And both times I learned something powerful. When we disconnect from people, we disconnect from life. So today I wanted to talk to you about the power of connection and why healing alone doesn't work, how isolation sometimes keeps you stuck, and how to start rebuilding your circle even when you don't feel like it. And I do understand you. So by the end of this episode, you'll understand why connection is one of the most healing forces in your life. And you'll have simple ways, of course, to reconnect starting today. Welcome to another episode of From Breakup to Badass. I am Yanira, your speaker, wellness coach, and your guide through the messy, beautiful process of rebuilding your life after heartbreak. And if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes that helps you heal, grow, and walk into your next chapter with confidence. So let's dive into it, right? This episode, why we isolate. So after a breakup or any emotional storm, isolation feels safe. Your brain literally goes into self-protection mode. According to neuroscience, emotional pain activates the same area of your brain as physical pain, the anterior cingulate cortex. So when you're hurt, your brain says, don't touch the fire again. Don't go there again. Like if you approach the people, you may get hurt again. So that's why you stop calling people back. That's why you pull away. And it's not weakness, it's wiring, you know? But here's is the real problem. When isolation lasts for too long, your nervous system forgets what safety looks like. A 2023 report from Harvard Health showed that chronic loneliness increases the risk of heart disease by 29% and stroke by 32%. So that's the same impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Can you believe that? I'm amazed sometimes on how much this can impact your life. If you ever heard me speak before, or maybe you have heard before about the blue zones. So the blue zones are different areas in the world, actually 5 different areas in the world that people live longer. And one of the things when they research these areas is that people live longer because of community, because of the people that they have around, because that's important for not only healing, but living longer. So it is important to be surrounded by people who can actually help you heal. You can actually help you move forward, right? So, and I do think I can tell you from my own experience, when I isolated last year, I wasn't healing. I was going through a major storm in my life. You know, it was the hormones, it was different things, and I was hiding. And I wasn't resting. I was actually disappearing. And sometimes we tell ourselves, okay, I'll reconnect when it feels better, when I feel better. But we start to feel better when we reconnect. And I remember when I was going through my divorce several years ago, one of the things that helped me was connection, was all my family and my friends who were actually supporting me in a very challenging time in my life when I not only divorced, but I moved back to the state after living 12 years in Colombia. And I love this quote by Renee Brown. She says, connection is why we are here, is what gives us purpose and meaning to our life. So think about it, are you going through, if you're going right now through your heartbreak or divorce or this separation, are you resting or are you isolating? Think about who could you let see you even if you're not okay. I remember, going through my divorce, I just cried. Like I needed to cry. I needed to let it all, I needed to feel my feelings and all the sadness and, like the dreams that I knew they were never going to see the light. I don't know how I could say this, but it takes time. But my family and my friends helped me through. And I remember this phrase from my girl: the only way to go through it is to go through it. That's why you need to feel everything that you're feeling. But when you have the support from others, it's even better. So healing is better when you have that connection. Okay. And when we connect with others, our bodies release oxytocin, which is the hormone of safety and bonding. And I know so many studies that show how when especially women are around women and kids, your body releases oxytocin. That's why in all of my talks, and actually I had one like 2 weeks ago at the Latin American Association, and I asked all the older adults, because I was giving a talk about positivity and how that has an impact in your health. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm ready. So you can give me my 8-second hugs, because research says that when you give hugs for 8 seconds, your body releases oxytocin. And today, I saw one of my friend Gladys, and we hug each other. And I'm like, okay, remember, it's 8 seconds. And she started crying, and because she was emotional by the hug. Every time we do it, we feel safe. We feel that bonding. And every time you hug, it reduces cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and signals to your body that you're safe. So, we have it there. We have so many people that loves us. So don't be afraid to ask for that hug or that support shoulder when you need to cry because of what you're going through right now. And I don't know, there is one research published in Frontiers in Psychology that found that people with at least 3 close social ties recover from emotional trauma 40% faster than those who don't. Just by that. And it was funny because I started thinking about what happened to me last year. And I'm not going to say I was in a hole, right? But it felt like it for maybe a couple of months, until like one day I'm just like slap myself literally. And I said, okay, enough is enough. You're not a victim. You have an amazing life. So get out of here as soon as you can. And that's when I started like looking for that support. Connection is medicine. It's biological, it's emotional, and it's spiritual. And I have realized in all these years of, speaking and doing coaching that sometimes I forget as well. I have all the tools that I have learned, and sometimes I do forget it, like I did last year. I forgot of that medicine that we have. So now I preach connection. I teach connection, because at that moment I wasn't living it as I knew as I should, right? And it wasn't about being around people all the time. It was about letting myself be seen again, not like, oh, yes, I'm strong. I can do everything. Yes, I know I can do everything, but I'm allowed to feel sad sometimes. I'm allowed to cry, because connection doesn't mean that you have to be surrounded by people. But it means like being real with even one person. So there's a quote from Kelly Harold that says, "We don't heal in isolation, but in community." That's beautiful. The question is, how do we reconnect? So let's make this practical as usual. So take 10 minutes and I'm going to give you some questions, and maybe you can pause the video, or if you are listening to me, if you're in a car, don't do anything, don't write anything, just keep driving, okay? But think about this. Take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, and make 2 simple lists. In column number 1, or whatever you are, or question number 1, who gives you energy? Start writing. I'm sure a lot of people gives you energy. I have, my friends, they're so funny. So funny. We said like we're very funny, and I think that's where we are together. We have a group that is called the Atlanta group, and all of us, we're very funny. So every time we're together, they give me energy. And they're here with me all the time. So make a list. Column number 1, who gives you energy, or who gives me energy? And then column number 2, who drains my energy? Because yes, we have some people in our lives that drain our energy. Maybe because of the way they are, maybe because of the way they talk, maybe because they're victims all the time, whatever it is. So after you do this, after you write list number 1 and list number 2, who gives me energy, who drains my energy, then pick one name, from the first list. Someone who makes you feel grounded or joyful. And send them a message today. You don't have to explain. Just say, hey, I was thinking of you or about you. How are you? Reconnection starts small. One text, one coffee, one conversation at a time, okay? So that's one thing that you can do. And if you don't have anyone right now that you can send a message, just connect with them energetically. And I'm sure you have somebody, but let's say it's 3 a.m. right now when you're listening or watching this episode, and then nobody's going to text you. I maybe connect energetically. Just sit quietly, close your eyes, right? And visualize yourself surrounded by people who love you, past, present, and future. And say out loud, I'm open to love, friendship, and connection. Remember that your nervous system, it listens. And when you say it out loud, it listen. It's good that your nervous system listen to yourself, to your voice, okay? You're reminding your body that connection is possible again, okay? One other exercise that you can do, it's reconnect with yourself. Journal on these questions, like, when was the last time that I felt truly connected? Or what was I doing and who I was with? No, it's not or, and how can I recreate that feeling this week, today, whatever it is? Studies show that writing, about positive social experiences increases serotonin and dopamine, which are your brain's natural feel-good chemicals, okay? So if you write, I have so many moments. Like I could say like a million examples, but I don't know. Let's say about my wedding. I remember my wedding was one of the most beautiful days that I have had in my life, and I always remember in a very positive way. We were 72 people. I was surrounded with 70 people that really loved me because they took a flight, they paid for hotels, and they came to my wedding. And I felt really loved. And it was about connection because the people who loved me were there. So every time that you imagine and that you write something that, or those positive connection that you have, you can get the feeling again. And when you get the feeling, remember, your thoughts determine the way you think determines the way you feel. The way you feel determines the action that you take. And the action that you take determines your life, the quality of your life, your future, your goals, whatever it is. So when I have positive thoughts and I associate those thoughts with positive emotions, I'm going to feel great and the healing is going to start. So here's what I want you to take away from today. Isolation sometimes feels safe, but it's a trap. When you share your pain, it loses your power. When you talk about it, when you let someone hold your story, it doesn't feel so heavy because if someone is carrying it with you. I remember all my friends, they supported me so much during the divorce. They were like, we're here. What do you want us to do? So I felt like I was surrounded by love and it helped in my healing. And just remind yourself that you don't have to do it alone. And you don't need to be the strong one by yourself. We get to be surrounded by so much love. I love this proverb. And I remember when I used to work at CNN, I remember one of our directors, he used to say this a lot, but there is an African proverb that it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further or farther, go together. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But anyway, so here's my invitation for you this week. Reach out to one person. Say yes to one invitation. Let someone see the real you. Even if you're still healing, it's okay. Because your next level of peace, your next level of growth, and your confidence won't come from isolation. It will come from connection, okay? If this episode reminded you that you don't have to heal alone, share it. Share it with that person who needs that reminder right now. And tag me in my Instagram stories at Yanira Puy Wellness. I love seeing how these messages resonate with you. Actually, I think like 2 weeks ago, Jules, one of my friends from the Lola, and she posted something on Instagram. She tagged me because she was doing one of the exercise that I mentioned in the podcast. And I really love that. Jules, thank you so much. And thank you for that wellness retreat that we did this past Sunday. I really enjoyed. I did cold plunge and sauna, but well, that's not the case. But remember, if you want to learn how to coach with me outside this podcast, send me an email at info@janirapuy.com. And that's what I have for you today. And I leave you with the same words that I say every episode. Remember, you've got this. So now go live like the badass that you are.